Greg is freaking amazing. So buckle up. This is going to be an awesome ride. And go ahead, Greg.
Thank you so much for having me, everybody. It's 1 a.m., but I'm thrilled to be here. I'm being a little less noisy than normal because I'm normally quite vibrant, but I have neighbours as well, and I'm in the back studio. One thing I've learned in my life is that everybody's after the golden ticket. Everyone's after the easy way, the quick fix or the 12-month black belt, all that stuff. And one thing I have to tell you, and most people probably understand it but aren't willing to commit, is there is no easy path. To something worthwhile, to something you truly want to become and something you want to do with your heart, you have to give it everything. And I want to go through tonight some of these questions that were posed to me a little while back by some of the members there tonight. And I want to give you some truthful answers, which there'll be some storytelling amongst that. We've got 20 minutes, which isn't long, but I really want to hone and nail down the points you made because they're very valid and I want to help you. There's no point in me just doing a speech, which will miss some points for you. So I really want to get them for you tonight. As the introduction said, my life, I was a screw up, and my teacher actually said that. My kindergarten teacher pulled my parents aside and said I would be the reason she quit the profession. I was never meant to be anything, but life changes you. And I was very fortunate in my life. I don't take credit for anything that I've ever done. It's always come via other people. If I didn't have a wonderful grandmother who was so dedicated and so driven in her own life, I never would have learnt the first steps to change my thinking process. I was a bullied, skinny kid. And at the age of 12, I'd been bashed up and beaten up so much because we lived at a housing commission area, which is pretty rough. And I was the youngest kid in my street by 5 years, so I was the target. And so one day, my mum and dad took me to my grandmother's place and we would sit there normally and eat rice pudding and talk about life. But this one particular time, she sat me down and she started telling me stories. And she gave me such inspiration because she helped Hudson Fish start Qantas. She used to fly with him in biplanes in 1921 when everybody was too scared to do this stuff. The aeroplane had just been invented, the war had just finished, and she had the guts to get up in this small little biplane and travel through the sky with this man. And I remember sitting there saying to her, Grandma, what was that like to fly back then? She said it was the most frightening but most exhilarating experience of my life. And she said, I knew that one day somehow I would travel the rest of the world by air. And at age 65, she did. Qantas gave her a first-class free ticket for life, and she spent the rest of her life traveling the world by air. But what she said to me was this: most people in life don't have the courage to fly. They're happy being on the ground, like all the people that were in that crowd that wouldn't go up in this plane. They stand there, they look at the ground, they're too afraid to step forward. And that first step thing is very important. She explained this to me in no uncertain terms about having the courage to fly, to step forward, to feel that adrenaline rush as the engine roars to life, that fear as it starts taxiing across the runway, and that thrust into the air, all that fear that comes with that, but then the elation of hitting that cruising altitude. But the point most people miss is this. She said you have to plan your landings. So eventually you're going to have to come down and refuel. You're going to need to get rest. You're going to need maintenance. And that's the one thing many people don't do. They don't stop and rest. They don't listen to themselves. They don't listen to their bodies. And they don't keep moving forward because they burn out. But the biggest point I took from that, outside of me now thinking that I could be something, was that you have to take the first step. And what gets me with the first steps is this, is most people put all this emphasis on, the first step. It's just a step. It's just one of a million steps you're going to make. And a million times you're going to fall down. And I never have ever thought that I'm a brilliant, highly intelligent human being. I'm just very, very determined. And when I start something, I finish something. And I've learned these lessons from people in my life along the way. And I think that's something many of us should start doing. A lot of people don't listen to who's around them. They take it for granted. They don't listen to the parents that have trod the road before them or their teachers that have done things before them. They don't take those pieces of knowledge on board and they don't grow with it. They shut it down and they want to make it their own way. That's fine, but information from someone who's been there before is valuable. The word sensei in the world of karate doesn't mean teacher. It means the one who's walked the path before you. That's all it means, which means they've made the mistakes. They've gone through the journey. They've felt the pain. They've suffered the blood. They've been knocked out. They've been through all the hardships and they've kept coming back. And that's a massive point, is to keep coming back. The greatest lessons I've learned in my life come from losing. My life is a myriad of losses. I think I've made it an art form, really. There's been so many times in my life that I've lost, and in a big way too. And it doesn't matter so much on the size, but when you travel across the world to do something and you lose, it's a big hit. And especially when there's crowds of people watching or there's TV crews there and things don't go well, it hurts. So how do you find that courage? How do you come back from those things? Well, what we have to do is this. Every day, forget about motivation. Because every day I know that when I get up, I have these two little voices, one on each shoulder. One saying maybe you can and one saying no you can't. And your job for that morning, when you sit on the edge of the bed, is to beat that voice that says you can't. But guess what? Some days you don't win. But here's the saying I want you to take with you. Passion through pragmatism. Have a pragmatic approach to your passion. So no matter what, if it's in your diary, if it's in your list of what you have to do today, if it's in your heart space and you have to do it, no matter how you feel, what the weather, what's happening around you, you get up and you do it. If you have a pragmatic approach to the things you go after, you will get there, because most people don't. So I want to start going through some of these questions tonight, because these touched on some of this stuff. The question came up, how do you have a level of commitment or drive? Was I born with that? No, I wasn't. I wasn't born with any level of commitment or drive. I had to find it. And it came from being knocked down. And I think many of us, if we really think about the times we've been hit, and the trouble I think these days is that we're so fixed on mediocrity. We're too worried about the word that someone says, how it hurt us, all these things. Well, guess what? That's life. Sometimes you've got to suck it up and deal with it. Because you know what? Bullies won't stop. They will always be there. We have to learn to get a rhino skin and to fight back and to stand tall and to take it. It does not matter. If it's in your way, take it, shield it, and keep moving forward. It's one of the great assets you'll have. Because commitment overtakes everything. Drive overtakes everything. But how do you do it? You have to build it. It's a suit of armor you're putting together piece by piece by piece. And sometimes pieces come off, but that's okay. When pieces come off, add another piece back on and keep moving forward. And it's not always easy. I've heard millions of people talk about the whole thing when walls come down in front of you, you smash through it. That's all BS. Sometimes when a wall comes down or something stops you, it really hurts. It really knocks you back. But the great thing about walls coming down or a door shutting in front of you is this. It builds creativity. When I tried to make it in movies, I had 0 qualifications. I'm a carpenter. The only qualification I have to this day is I'm a carpenter. I hated being a carpenter and I wanted to make movies. I had never read a screenplay. I'd never made a movie. I didn't own a camera. I didn't own a computer. I had nothing. But I had this wild dream that I wanted to be in movies. And everyone said I was crazy. I tried in Australia for 3 years. I got told no every single week for 3 years. You're too big. You don't have the qualifications. You're not skilled enough. So what do? Most people don't last 3 years. Most people just quit. I kept thinking, how else can I do this? I was lucky enough to have this wonderful father, and I still do. He's 90 years old now, but Dad was a world champion kayaker. And when he wanted to be a kayaker at age 14, his family couldn't afford it. They had no money. So at age 14, my father quit school, went and became a boat builder with the sole intention of learning how to build his own kayaks and go towards his dream. By age 17, he was the premier kayaker in New Zealand. He was taking on all the whitewater rapids in the country. But the best part about that is my father can't swim, not at all, not a lick. And his family would say to him, Colin, you're going to drown. What are you doing? And he said, only if I fall out of the boat. So he taught himself to Eskimo roll and he kept coming back. He made it to the Olympic team, but of course, back then you had to pay your own way, so they couldn't afford to go. So what did Dad do? He set his sights on the world record. So the record, what he was after, was crossing Cook Strait between the North and South Islands of New Zealand. To that big stretch of water that's quite horrible. It's very rough, it can be very turbulent. He set his goals on that. And on January the 17th, 1963, my father's paddle hit the water. The record at the time was 5 hours, 14 minutes. And in 3 hours and 40 minutes, he'd touched the South Island, setting a new world record. And you know what the point is? It's never been broken to this day. And what Dad taught me was this. He said, when you start something, you owe it to yourself to continue until you finish, until you reach the goal. He said, if you're going to do something, never quit halfway. You'll regret it. He said, it's much better to finish it than make an informed decision at the other end. So once you've got that decision, then you can use that to move somewhere else. But also then you get to use the building blocks of that skill set and take it to the next thing, and you improve faster. You know, George Miller called me the master of remastery. All it is me taking my skills from bodybuilding and martial arts and condensing them into my building skill, which condensed that into how to run companies, which condensed that into how to speak. You keep building on top of those things. And what it does, it reduces the time frame. But you have to be willing to fail. You have to stop asking questions. Because this is the thing. I don't think I'm a smart, intelligent, highly skilled person. I just know I'm determined. And the trouble is when people are too smart, they outsmart themselves. And what do I mean by that? Well, what happens? They start asking questions, and then they ask more questions and more questions until eventually they talk themselves out of it before they even start. Where a big dumb animal like me just starts. I see the mountain peak and I go towards it. I don't know what's there. Could be crocodiles, could be mountain drop cliffs, it could be all kinds of stuff. I don't care. I'll figure it out when I get there. And if you start thinking like that, you will do better. Because these are the things that start you moving. Get rid of all that fear of the first step. It is just a step. And like my grandmother said, be prepared to fly. Find what's in your heart space. And you look at that and you go, what do I want to be? What do I want to achieve? And then start going after it. And you start now. Today's a new day there. Start doing it today. And whilst you're doing it, you will learn. Don't be afraid to fail. That's part of it. We all hear those sayings all the time. Oh, you know, we fail, we come back. It's great to say, but it hurts to do. But who cares? Learn from it. When you fail, make detailed notes. Learn what you didn't know. Learn those next steps. Read about it, study it, apply it, and come back. It's the problem I have with so many Toastmasters that they tick the boxes. They get the badge, they get the numbers and letters and all these things written there. It's great. I'm an ACB or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, they're not applying anything. If you get those skill sets, Toastmasters has some amazing skill sets. It teaches you. It's in all the booklets and all the pathways. But we don't apply that stuff. I know many Toastmasters who've been members for a long, long time, who have very rarely shown improvement, who don't do any practice. Like, it's what you put in is what you get out. You know, and the work you put in when no one else is watching, that's what makes the difference. Because that moment you're up on stage, or that moment you're presenting in front of people, the moment you're competing, that's the minute you're on stage for. It's all those years of practice that nobody got to see that make the massive difference. So I'm going to start traveling through these questions. What are the lighthouse moments that kept me pushing forward? Well, this happens for everyone. We've all got lighthouse moments. But for me, everything I do is based on my heart space. If it doesn't matter to me, I'm not going to do it. And I will chase it until I attain it. But guess what? When the chapter finishes, I know it because my gut tells me it's done. I had the chance to go on and become a full-time professional bodybuilder through the IFBB, and I stepped away and went, you know what? My aim was to win the national championships. I did that twice. I'm done. I went to all the universes and the worlds and then went, I'm done. I'm happy. What's next? Because I think too many people become a one-trick pony, and there's so much more to do in life. So I think the lighthouse moment is different for everybody, but when you have it, grab it and chase it and get it. Learn from it. And if you change your mind when you're there and you've finished it, move it to the next thing, but use all those skill sets to do it. It's a really important thing. The word success. I got the question here saying you've achieved success across many different fields. I don't like the word success. I think it's a really tainted word. I think we should all be searching for fulfillment. There's so many people out there pitching money and houses and cars and how you look on the outside, when what's happening inside is usually a mess. So what makes you rich inside? What makes you happy? To me, that's a massively more enriching thing than having lots of money and lots of houses. It's all good. You can enjoy a great quality of misery, but at the same time, if you really want to be rich in life, you've got to find the things that make you feel rich in life. Like, how many people here, I want you to raise your hands if you've got your camera on, how many people here have watched the sun come up? How many people have sat up and watched the moon? How many people have taken their shoes off and walked through the bush? Like, here's my next question. When was the last time? We have to remember this one important thing. Tomorrow is not a new day. Tomorrow is one day less. Flip the thinking, because we have less time every day to achieve the thing we're after. And if you want it, time is finite. And you really have to chase these things down because they're so important. And so for your gut instinct, you must listen to this. My grandfather was a highly decorated war soldier. He came back with war trauma. And when he got to World War II, he became a postmaster general, and he was meant to move his family from Melbourne to Darwin. 1944 in September. Now they were just ready to go, all set to go to Darwin, moving his whole family, my mum and all his sisters and brothers, up to Darwin. Now back then, the postmaster general lived on top of the post office. And 2 days before going there, he went, you know what? My gut's telling me not to go. I think I'll keep the kids in Melbourne. I think they're happier here. 2 days later, the Japanese attacked Darwin. The post office got bombed. Everybody in the post office died. Had they moved there, I would not be here today. His gut instinct told him no, and he listened to it. It's there for a reason. So everything I do in my life, the gut instinct drives a lot of it. It's your sixth sense, it truly is. So really listen to it. If your gut says it's not good to do or it's time to stop, listen. It's the way you'll move forward. It's the way you'll change your career at the right time. It's the way you'll start adapting new skills, because you won't keep just trudging along the same pathway where you're not truly happy. Because life's short. We've got to embrace it. So here we go. Here's our Toastmasters. I want to go to our Toastmasters related questions because I think they're very interesting and I think time will probably run out. With your background, how do you create and deliver a story that truly captivates attention? Now, this is sort of based on movies. This was sort of a movie question. So when you watch a movie, what do you root for? Like the characters in a movie, what do you go for? There's the characters that are flawed, the characters that are truthful, the characters that are real. Because we can attach to them. The trouble with a great deal of speakers is because they're very achieved and accomplished, they talk about, oh, how great it is to win all these awards. I don't like talking about the awards. It was a mistake I made a number of years ago, where when I first started speaking, and I wasn't trying to brag, I just was trying to establish, like, this is why I'm here. And it was like the introduction that got read tonight. It's horrendous. I'll never use it again. Sorry about that. But like all those achievements, they don't mean anything. They're moments. It's all the things that happen on the pathway to those achievements that make it better. But when people, especially athletes, talk about these great achievements and how great they are, all they do is separate the audience from themselves. Because the audience doesn't care about the award. They care what you overcame to get the award. The person you had to grow to, the things you had to skill set wise and physical wise and mental wise grow in order to become the person that could do that. That's what they're after. And it's the same with a character in a movie. The character is flawed. They've got issues and problems, and somehow they still manage to overcome. That's what people attach to. And I've found in my time, it's not the big stories. People don't care about world titles and Oscars. They don't care at all about that. They care how you overcame that life problem, because they can understand that. And if you really read your audience, you can tell where they're at during your story, because you'll see people react differently at different times. And you start to realize, oh, I know where you're at. And I know where you're at. And then you can guide them with what you say. It's a very important note. So the question came up, why did I join Toastmasters? Most people don't realize we made a film called Mad Max Fury Road. So Mad Max became a successful movie to a point, financially, I suppose. But we lost the film. So at the end of shooting all the action in Africa, we'd gone 30 million over budget. And the studio came in with a single stroke of a pen, they shut us down. And that one moment, which happened on my birthday, that one moment changed us lifestyle-wise for a long time. We were owed money, we got hit with massive taxes. Pretty much overnight, we were almost broke with no career and no film, which meant we're getting sued. It was going to get worse and worse and worse. And the things that came out of that were very interesting to me. One, it took me to a very unusual space in my life, which I'd never been to, mentally, which I had to cope with that. Two, being broke really quickly was a tough place to be. Knowing you're probably going to lose your house was a tough place to be. And knowing what you had to fight through to come back were a tough place to be. And at my lowest point in life, for some reason, and I don't know why, I started listening to Jim Rohn. And then I started listening to Les Brown. And then I started listening to different speakers after speaker after speaker. And by doing that in my headphones all day whilst working as a labourer on a construction site, and at night trying to make the film good enough and an automatic so the studio would let us finish, somehow I found some value. And on my birthday the following year, I was still at a pretty low place, and one of my colleagues took his life. And it was the first time I'd ever spoken about my issues, but I put it onto the guys. And I said, you know what, we can't be like this. We have to talk. We have to step up. We have to have the courage to say, I need help. And that one time speaking saved 6 people's lives. And that was when I felt that there was possibly some value in things that I had to say. But I knew to do that, I had to get myself well. So I started learning the steps to get myself better. I started working really hard at that. And I went to Toastmasters the very next day. And at Toastmasters, what I learned was this: the people are amazing. They guide you, they help you, they support you. They give you everything they've got. And they didn't know where I was at. I never told them, but they supported me the whole way through. And they gave me the skill sets and the regularity to become a better speaker. They gave me all of these support mechanisms and all the guiding posts of speaking and just being at a meeting with friends that helped me come back. But I want to give you this one point. I know I'm out of time because it goes real fast, is this. When you join Toastmasters, if you want to be a keynote speaker, have a plan. Don't just do 7-minute speeches. Try and find a through line for 6 of those 7-minute speeches, and they can become a keynote for you. And then you have these polished sections of your keynote, which then you can flow together beautifully. And then you can apply it to your business or where you want to take it to, because most people come in and just do, I'm going to do a funny speech, I'm doing a business speech, I'm doing a presentation. They never try to put it together. So the mindset I want to give you is this: go to Toastmasters with a plan. Do the work when you're not there. Don't go from a meeting and come back to the next meeting. Put the work in between the meeting. Show true improvement. Get yourself better, make yourself stronger, and then get out there and speak. And just before I finish, when you speak, be prepared to speak for free. I never went out to make money. I fought to speak at the national conference for free, for mining, building, construction, on suicide prevention. There were 2 people in the audience who saw me. They said, we need to take you to America. That's how I got started. It wasn't expected. I just wanted to help people. So if you do it from the heart space, you do it from the right place, and keep these 4 letters in mind: hope, heart, obstacle, plan, execution. Find what's in your heart, find the obstacle that's stopping you, put a plan in place and execute the plan. Then you've got a great shot at making it. I think I've got to finish. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Greg. I love when a big tough guy uses words like heart space, because that makes it okay for the rest of us to, go into that space too. And I love how it was balanced with that cleaner mentality, done next. If any of you were really like I get excited when someone talks like Greg was just talking. And if any of you guys are really into like that vibe, there's a book called Relentless by Tim S. Grover, you reminded me of that energy of just done, next, checked that box, like that Michael Jordan mentality. So awesome. Thank you so much, Greg, for joining us this morning. I saw people like popping different quotes into the chat. I know I wrote a couple down as well. We have so much gratitude for you being here this morning. And I also
if you want to know the answers to the questions, like I wrote, this is what I've been writing all week for everybody. So all the questions, awesome. I scroll tons and tons and tons and tons of answers on everything. So if anybody actually wants the answers to these questions, I'll type them out and send them over and you can have them, because there's some really interesting stuff that I can't tell you about in this time frame. But hear that? Awesome.
Yes.
My big ones.
Yeah, so, Zoom actually caught that one. Usually Zoom filters that stuff out.
So there's a lot of great stuff that I really want to share. 20 minutes, I can't do it really, because I've got a whole lot of life lessons that I live by, and I think there's some really great ones. And, just say yes is the big one. Stop asking, just say yes and work out the details later, and go towards your fears, because the greatest fears in your life are actually your greatest assets in waiting, and most people are too scared to turn around. Just turn around and face them.